Wendy House.
Here.
Emily Rupchak.
Here.
Myself, Eric Griffin is here. And we've got the township trustee. So for approval of the agenda. That's been posted, correct? It was posted.
Correct. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
No second.
All right. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Minutes have been posted as well from our September 9th meeting. If there are any questions or changes to that? If not, then go for an approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 9th meeting.
I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The minutes from September 9th meeting have been approved. This time we have a place for public comment. Anybody from the public has anything to say? Okay.
I don't know, is this appropriate now? We just put in a bid for the, I'm Stacy Nicodemus, President of Marine Riders Michigan. And we just put in a bid for the Crumstown Fire Station. And I don't think we're gonna have the highest bid here. We can't survive on without charity from others, but that's what we do. We contribute to the community. Toys for Tots, homeless veterans, the widows, VFW widows. We've been doing it for 15 years now. We've had a clubhouse for 10 years over in Elkhart. We've been leasing it, and it's time to look at us purchasing a piece of property. And, this one was brought to our attention, so.
All right. Thank you.
They passed out some letter.
All right. Any other public comments for today? Any reports? This being. I don't know if you have any report for today or.
Nothing to report, comments later,
Okay.
discussion later.
All right. We will move on to new business. Go ahead and start with the opening the bids or.
Certainly, and I can, for the board's edification, I can provide, I think what'll be a good framework for opening the bids. And since we've got some folks in the audience that ostensibly either are related to the bid submissions or interested in the bid submissions, I think we'll have the record reflect that we've received 3 timely sealed bids in accordance with the notices that have been published in the South Bend Tribune. The notice provided that the sealed bids would be opened this evening at a public meeting of the board. Upon the opening of the sealed bids, I think it would be prudent to open each one and open the 3, and then if the board would like to invite anyone who's submitted a bid to maybe say a few things, or certainly for the board to ask questions of any of the bids. This is the opportunity, one of the opportunities for the board to consider what is part of the bid packet. To be candid, my recommendation to the board would be, with your satisfaction of any comment that you've received after being able to open the bids, is that I think it's appropriate to take them under advisement this evening. And unless there's only one conforming bid and there's absolutely no other way that it could be done, that would be at least my recommendation, so that we could meet again either in executive session or a follow-up public meeting to award a bid. Again, that's just to give you the opportunity to review the packets completely. Once you open them, they'll be open to public inspection, and any of the bidders, either the ones who have submitted already or any new bidders, are entitled to submit to you a higher bid. So you have that opportunity as well. Again, that wouldn't be a sealed bid. That would be something that's open to public inspection upon submission. Again, that I think just gives you the framework, gives you an opportunity not to have to make the decision as you sit here unless you're inclined to do so. So that is, you have some flexibility under statute. I think as we discussed at the last meeting, the one thing you can't do is accept a non-conforming bid. Otherwise, you're free to open these and consider them duly. So with that, Mr. Chair,
All right.
turn to you.
Okay. Let's try and eat something.
Pumpkins maybe from what I hear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whole paycheck's worth it, felt like, oh, God.
Yep.
All right, got, a bid from Ronald and Catherine Odell, that made a bid before, I was like, I don't see the amount, that was the public notice. All right, with the bid for purchase price of $201,000. And you have some exceptions, but those were exceptions just for informational as to why the bid was the price.
We left those out. What's on there now is what we're willing to do for the fire department.
Okay,
Ron, would you clarify that you left the exceptions that were included in the previous bid out?
Right, the exceptions that I was talking about are, where we talked about what needed to be done to the roof, the siding and all that,
Yes.
everything that I would pay for.
Yes.
These are things that Kate and I are willing to pay for the fire department. You know, as far as the hydrant and that sort of thing.
okay. Okay, I just want to make sure that the deficiencies.
Yes,
were
all of
just-
that will come out of our pocket, so it looks like there's an additional $8,000 plus ongoing electric bills, the rest, however long you guys want to do it. But that's what would be coming out of our pocket to take care of that.
How do you say hydrant, Ron? Where-
The hydrant,
The well, you mean the well?
yeah, the well,
Yeah, they had included.
yeah, we would, pay the electric, we'd have new hookups put outside with new controls that'd be easier. Lighting, paying for the electric, for all that.
So essentially an in-kind donation
Right,
by taking.
right.
care
It
of
would, yeah, all in, it'd be about $8,000 for us to do it, because we probably have to pour a little bit of concrete there and everything too, so. It's actually,
So,
when we looked at it, almost 210,000, but
I see.
and then obviously, and so it said that they'll agree to lease, use of the existing well for $1. So essentially it's,
A donation.
the upkeep of it in exchange for the lease.
I see.
yeah, the only thing we would ask is a hold harmless agreement from the fire department.
Bobby, you have a scanner.
Hmm?
You have a scanner, good.
I don't even paper them.
That's all right. We'll do it all electronic. We'll plan to scan the packets and circulate them, keep the originals in your office.
Put in appropriation to get. My needs to be increased.
We've got the bid for the marine rider. The purchase price of $50,000 with no exceptions. From was it Core St. Clair Holdings LLC? What papers? Your purchase price of $205,500 with no exceptions listed.
And repeat for the name of the bidder is Sinclair Holdings.
This is Core St. Clair Holdings, but it was filled out by David St. Clair. Okay, member of the LLC. Listed in where it was personal property and then not for profit, and then there's listed as partnership. This would be the appropriate time to ask any questions from our end as far as use of the property, stuff like that.
Yeah, with the bids being open and being open for public inspection at this point, this is your first of several opportunities that you may have to consider the bids openly. Ask information that you see necessary, particularly while we've got folks in the room. Like I said, if the board is inclined to make an award this evening, you certainly can. Alternatively, if the board wishes to take it under advisement, you can do that as well. Given the nature of the agreement at issue here, we can meet in executive session and discuss the terms of these various proposals, these various bids.
I guess we could tackle the easiest one first, where the bid from the Marine Riders. Well, obviously you said that you planned on coming in to everybody to do our nonprofit. If we were to choose one of the three, since there was in the public notice the minimum of 200,000, that does not actually allow us to award it to you guys unless we were to, if we ran into this before, which is why the bids were reopened. So if for some reason we would decide that the other two bids weren't satisfactory or we didn't want to go that route, then obviously you would be unwelcome to put another one out there. Or as it's suggested, I would imagine we'd probably take these under advisement, in which that point apparently you could come back with one, but I would imagine that being a non-for-profit, it's a little hard to come up with that.
Let them know that we'll do the same 8,000 that they do.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, but we don't have, we
Yeah.
just wouldn't have, just can't happen. It's not like we haven't come across hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past 10 years, but it's all going back into the community.
Yeah.
So this is I have guys telling me now that I'm taking too much away from, so.
Yeah. I do appreciate what you guys do. I have several friends that are members of your organization. So like I said, if it's something to where anything changes, then obviously you have connections to figure that out. But unfortunately, with the laws and statutes being where they are, the bid's considered non-conforming. So legally, we wouldn't be able to award it to you guys. So,
Well, I appreciate everybody's time.
yep.
I'm gonna take these guys and get them a beer now.
So I figured that we'd handle that one first.
I'm not the one driving all of the trains. There's other guy.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank you
your
very
service.
much. Appreciate everything you do.
We've already, everybody must have been Marine riders, but you guys, so. There really isn't anything here that, you know, it seemed like what that use would be. For
For the other.
Yeah,
Include.
yeah,
Okay.
um,
And you said it was for partnership?
it's just, well,
That was what was selected for the use?
yeah,
Okay. Is there context that, Bobby, you have on this?
I
Bidder,
mean,
the Sinclair, do you have any,
Idea who it is, what they do.
right? Any
You-
context?
yeah, I do know that company and they Sinclair and the other partner. Yeah.
Okay,
or any clue as to what the property use may be.
He did not, no, he did not, mention what they would do with it.
St. Clair, like a business where they do logos and stuff on merchandise.
Like
I don't
None
know.
of them, I believe, but I think
Associated
this, it made sense.
They do a lot of property vibes, like, you know, they, for familiar with downtown, they own all the Harmony Dance buildings, most they do. They do other things also. It's a reputable company, but I not seen a bid, what he put in there and all that. To be something, board and just a moment.
Best I see is that it is,
They knew about the meeting to be here, someone to be here.
yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to be able to.
Mm.
To know at least a little bit of detail. Because with that, I think it is having access to that well is an important thing, because I know water usage is hard to come by in the township. And having available water resources within certain areas helps our property,
Mhm.
our insurance, our homeowners insurance as well. So, I mean, they're without having direct knowledge of if there's other readily available water sources in case of fire or anything like that, that's something that comes to my mind, but
I can note for the record that the bid packet that was provided to the bidders includes on the cover page for real estate bid instructions. There is a line there that, again, to the extent the board is concerned about the use of that well, the bid instructions do provide that the sale is contingent upon the successful bidder permitting the fire department to use that on-site well through a separate agreement. So the township has already it's already addressed it in the sense that a successful bidder will only be successful at closing if that well is addressed through an arrangement. I think the Odell packet speaks to that and speaks to what the terms of that would be. But then and I don't believe the St. Clair bid does, but again, we've already conditioned on that. Yeah.
they just, the Odells are gonna go above and beyond with making sure it's
Right.
optimal, I guess, whereas they just promised use of it.
That's a biggie there.
You guys have any thoughts on, or if we should,
Taking into consideration that the Odells are going to watch over and take care of the well, the electric hookup, the lighting, the cement pad, or whatever it is you need. that more than covers, the bid from St. Clair Holdings along, you know, so they've got a bid of 201,000 and the utilities and the upkeep of the well and things that they're willing to do for another 8,000. That seems very fair to me.
Um, as far as where to decide to just take this under advisement for, and then executive session, figure that out. I don't know how ladies feel about it. I would like to, I guess, know what we're putting in our, you know, if it's gonna be used for, you know, commercial or well, what the idea is, because there are people that live really close to that. I'd hate to award it to a business that's gonna have a bunch of stuff going on and traffic, you know, for an extra $4,500. But at the same rate, as a good steward to the township, I would hate to just dismiss that extra $4,500 without, you know, knowing more.
The only question would be, is the county willing to zone that commercial? Because when I talk to them, it's zoned agricultural right now, which is only allows for residential.
I fully agree with your sentiments, Eric. And I think it is appropriate for us to be thoughtful about this and see if we can get in contact with the other bidder to understand more about the intention of the future.
Yeah, I mean, it seems as though they're just, the company is, you know, business real estate, more or less, construction development, real estate investment. So, you know, obviously we know the capabilities of the building with how much it is, it was valued at, like my worry and said, you know, maybe the intention is to buy it up cheap and then resell it and then take it completely out of our hands. And for, you know, the small difference. But like you said, I think it would be right to at least give them an opportunity to explain that. Then again, they had that opportunity tonight and they're not here, so there's that as well. What would be the process as far as if we decided to go the executive session route and made under advisement moving forward?
Sure. I mean, so the first step would be that the board would entertain a motion to take the bids under advisement. And then assuming that's adopted, then an executive session can happen within, all you need is a 48-hour notice in order for that to occur. Then and that's a meeting that can occur here. That's not open to the public. It's not going to be open to the bidders either. There is because this is a real estate transaction. There's a provision under the executive session statute that doesn't permit you to invite an adverse party to the contract to come in and negotiate. So it would be a discussion among the board, the trustee, the folks affiliated with the township. To have that discussion. The notice that was provided, so that's the procedural aspect for the board to follow. The notice that was provided tracks with the statute that from now until the board's next scheduled meeting on the 11th, if you do not award a bid this evening, these bids remain open for public inspection, and they are subject to anybody coming in to either offer a competing bid, a higher bid. The Odells could come in and offer a higher bid. St. Clair could come back and offer a higher bid during that period of time. And you can continue to take those under advisement really up and through the November 11th meeting. That's kind of your drop dead deadline, I think, to award the purchase would be that November 11th period. But until then, we lose the sealed aspect. So now things don't happen behind a sealed envelope. Anyone who comes in and gives you a bid, all the other bidders are entitled to notice of that. And that's the process that plays out over the next 30 days. Does that
So-
answer your procedure question?
Yeah, so really, there's no position for like a formal in meeting.
You sure could.
Place for them to come in and.
You
say
absolutely
things.
could. You absolutely could. It would just be a public meeting. It would be open to all members of the public, just perhaps with a specific invitation to the absent bidder this evening.
Which I also can appreciate the fact that they were aware that this was a thing, and so were the Odells, and they've chosen to be here
Mhm.
twice in a row as well. And as far as that monetary difference, obvious, I mean,
Well, if you're asking my opinion, I like to see Sinclair coming in and state their intentions. Yes, he was aware that he was supposed to be here. I get that.
Certainly the discretion's with the board as far as what best and highest and best bidder means. I would say from a legal standpoint, 201 and 205 are pretty comparable. And so you're well within your discretion if you wanted to award either way, just on those numbers alone. There's nothing, you're not going to run afoul of statute.
The November 11th, is that a scheduled meeting? Because we don't need to meet again this year. We don't have to.
I mean, if you award this evening,
But I mean,
No.
we could open it up to have a public meeting in a week or 2 weeks. We don't have to wait till 11th, or we could.
no, you're absolutely right.
Or we could. But technically, we don't have to meet again until January the 6th.
That's
Because of election of officers on January, the first Tuesday in January.
that's correct. Yeah.
But to the end of the year, because then we don't have to vote on the end of the year stuff for 25 until the end of February.
That's
So
right.
February's meeting.
That's right. Yep. And you'll adopt your budget this evening.
Yeah, we'll adopt the
Um,
budget today, so there's I mean, it's up to the board. If they want to meet on November 11th, you can drag it out that far if you want, or if everybody's scheduled, you could do it in 2 weeks and open it up to the public and have
That's
the Odells and the Sinclair come back.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the November 11th date I think is a drop dead date as far as, for lack of a better expression, for the timeline of the bidding. You can meet, I mean, from here, you can meet anytime within 48 hours, excluding holidays and weekends, either in an executive session or in a public meeting, to further consider the bids. Again, your difference. I don't know if we really had much of an opportunity to have an executive session, and certainly we haven't on something of this nature. You do have some flexibility in an executive session to be very candid, because you don't have the public input. I mean, that's what the executive session is designed to do, is to give you as decision makers the opportunity to perhaps be a little more candid than you would in the strictures of a public meeting. Again, the limitation there is there's only certain people that you can invite into an executive session, and bidders aren't going to be one of them. So, but yes, no, November 11th, that's as late as it can go. You can do anything you want from a timing standpoint between now and then.
And there's still, even though an executive session would not be open to the public, there's still a requirement to give 48 hours notice
Correct.
to who?
To the public. They want to know you're getting together.
Yeah.
They want to know you're getting together. And in an executive session, you can't make any decisions in an executive session. So you can't go run off to an executive session and award the bid. You can discuss it.
Oh, I
You can
see.
talk about it. You can get close to making up your mind, but the official action has to happen at a public
Okay.
meeting.
See, so it's
Yeah.
also.
Effectively, yes. And so if we wanted to structure that in a way, if the board is inclined to do that, we could have an executive session. We could set that for a scheduled time. Say it starts at 5:30, and then we have a half hour, an hour of discussion, and then could have a public meeting that starts right at the end of that, where then you could award the bid. That's kind of how that would work.
yeah, I mean, sounds like probably that would be the route to go if we wanted to give the other bidder a chance to, I guess, speak to their possible use. Um. Drag it out, but again, it's, I don't wanna throw away the money, or if, it is something that seems worthwhile for the township.
This does the bid instructions as we published them do contemplate that once an offer to purchase is signed, and you have both in the Odell's packet and in the Sinclair packet, you have offers to purchase that are ready for counter signature. It provides that once those are signed, it's 30 days to close. That's the expectation. So,
Stephen St. Clair.
even if you met on the 11th, let's say it was as late as the 11th, you would be on a timeline to close by December 11th. So before the end of the year.
And that's obviously not an issue with the 30-day window.
No, I mean, you're kind of the master of the deal in that scenario yet. There's always plenty of real estate. There's always wrinkles that pop up. There can always be something. We've provided, as part of the packet here, we provided a boundary survey, we provided title work, so we don't expect either one of those to be issues. The agreements provide for some other limited diligence that a purchaser can do. So we're not anticipating that there would be any issues that would delay closing. However, as Mr. Odell has pointed out, it sounds like there's kind of an open zoning question. That certainly could take some time. And the township hasn't agreed as part of this to rezone property. It would cooperate in rezoning as part of that process, but hasn't agreed to rezone it itself. So anything that's going to run before a public body like that could take additional time, and so that's just something to keep in mind.
Well, unless anybody has any adverse thoughts to it, I would say that meeting again later in the executive session, and then awarding the bid after that, probably be the route to go. And then that gives them another opportunity to show up, and if they don't, then it is what it is.
You still want to do that on the 11th then?
We can look the calendar and try to do it before. We did have the previously scheduled meeting on the calendar for the 11th. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm just
I
throwing
think
that out.
was our
about
regular meeting.
How many
but,
meetings? We don't need to meet again. You know?
Right.
But also, I don't want to drag this out. So,
Yeah, that's what we were just sitting here talking about, but we're.
Yeah. Especially with all the other things that need done with winter coming,
Exactly, and, we've been put through this for almost 3 months now, so.
Um, there's no mechanism for like private conversation here today. Obviously, since we're in a public meeting.
That's right. No, you're 48 hours away from any private discussion. I mean, so depending on your schedule.
Yeah, in the spirit of honoring your perspective and the reality that was just discussed, in that winter is coming, and I'm inclined to make a decision tonight based on the information that's been provided and the parties that are present. So.
Yeah, I would just hate for, I guess, if there was an opportunity for that to be something positive for the community, then, that would be great, but also,
I know.
there's no way of knowing that. And,
No,
So I think we could probably move on and then determine the date that works best after the meeting, unless that needs to be agreed upon here in the public forum.
No, we can schedule
Yep.
at the end.
what's our minimum we're looking at for,
Time wise,
yeah,
48 hours.
even for public notice to,
Yep. So, the way that would calculate, I mean, every minute that passes, you could do it as soon as 6:15 on Thursday if you wanted to. Um, you're probably into like a Monday or a Tuesday of next week is probably if schedules accommodate within a week, that's ideal. Unless you want to do a Friday night executive session, there's nothing that statute says can't do that.
What night?
Friday night. If you're looking for a barn burner,
Oh, I mean, I know,
I'm open Friday. I'm open the 20th. My first.
I mean, I know, Emily, you said that you're leaning towards just making a decision tonight, and I have my opinion in my head that, we could be candidly on an executive session, or if I was pushed to make a decision tonight, then,
Mhm.
and that would just be somebody's motion
correct.
and how that goes.
Yep.
I can't imagine that, my gut instinct says that it's probably a buy and resell from the other place. I'm not sure what they would put up as far as, something positive that would be better than just, having them
And
living there
residents take it.
and somebody that's gonna take care of the property versus, who knows what would go there. I don't even know what could go there. I've seen with zoning, who knows?
I think that's the big issue. It's just unknown. So,
Monetarily, there's not difference.
mhm. Um,
Um. I'll make a motion to award the bid to the Odells.
I'll second that motion.
We've got a motion on the board to award the bid to the Odells and a second. We could do a roll call vote, which is just fairly important. So, Wendy,
Yeah,
Emily,
yeah,
and myself is yay as well. So, motion passes. With the bid being awarded to the Odells.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
very much.
Appreciate it.
The offer to purchase here has been completed by the Odells. I think, there's a signature line here for the trustee's signature. I think, it's appropriate that it be executed. We can provide a copy to the Odells, and then, happy to work with the Odells to bring this to a closing.
If I refuse to sign that,
Well, it's a great question. Yeah, I think it's more a matter of the board action as determined to award it. So it's more of an attestation, I think, for the trustee, more so than an executive action of the trustee. But I suppose we can cross that bridge if we need to come to it.
we may have to come to it because I don't think we give Mrs. Sinclair ample chance to be here and state his case.
Okay.
After listening to you talk. The stating in regards to the executive session, and we could bring them back and have them state, I have nothing against the Odells, they've been very patient, but
Okay. Well, I think the president of the board would otherwise be empowered to sign the acceptance of the offer to purchase, and I think in accordance with board action. So that it doesn't have to be the trustee. But that would be my opinion. So
Yeah, we can, after the meeting item,
yeah, we can execute that at the meeting.
not much work to go, so. Our next order of business is the adoption of the budget for 2026 fiscal year.
think for the record, this came before the board at the last meeting. There was a public hearing that was held. There was no comment that was taken. There've been no proposed changes to the budget as presented. It is right before you for adoption. A motion to approve is all that's necessary.
It did, but looking at the ordinance resolution, okay, you know what the adopted tax rate was for last year's agenda?
I do not.
Imagine comparable with the,
I believe,
except for the weird changes with territory and how that looks.
yes. And I'm trying to think of what Daniel would have presented.
Yeah, Daniel would have known that.
What
Yeah,
was the question?
Of what the existing lists out what the adopted tax rate is based off of this. I was curious as to what that compares to.
You don't have that, do you, Tom?
Was it included in his packet? Daniel's?
probably. But I don't recall offhand.
I can look for it.
I don't think they would have had the numbers then. We probably were using 25 tax rate, and the 26s haven't been certified. And I know Mr. Dalton just got those numbers like a week ago,
Okay. Yeah,
but they haven't been certified, so he's probably still working off of 25s.
sure, which makes sense.
Yeah, which is really, I think our budget is lower next year than it was this year.
The general fund last year, I think, was 255. Township fund stayed the same. Or the assistance fund stayed the same. So for all practical purposes, this year's proposed is like 20,000 less than last year.
I couldn't imagine it would be significantly different because of our actions. I'm just curious as how that would look.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure it's not.
Plenty about how it looked on everybody's property assessments this year. So
Out of that 255, we got 5, remember?
Yeah. In June.
So that figure. Is not really representative of what we got and what we're gonna get due to the credits.
Certain. Yeah. That's what's nailing this.
right, it's a budget that just a guideline, I suppose. Okay, well, I mean, these aren't any new numbers to any of us. I'll make a motion to adopt the budget that's been presented for the 26th fiscal year.
I'll second the motion.
Second for Wendy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Motion passes. I don't believe we have any other new business to or old business that we've left open from our last meeting, I don't believe.
Just the bids. They're left open.
We'll start with you ladies, Emily, any board discussion items?
No, not this time.
And
No.
Wendy? The only thing I have, somebody had mentioned to me, about the condition occasionally of, around the tennis courts and things in the park. They had asked as far as like how, who and when, like grass is cut, things like that. And obviously I have no answer for that. That's,
Well,
the trustee's decision thing.
Would have taken pictures of that tennis court, say 3 or 4 months ago, and take the pictures of it now, it's day and night difference.
Yeah.
And the grass is cut. we take care of everything on the outside. The Little League takes care of everything on the inside of the fences. We cut it every Wednesday.
Okay.
Was it 2 months ago? I had Shane go in there and cut all that stuff along the fences, plus right behind him was the guy with the weed spray that charged us extra. So if you go look at it now, it's totally different, and we're cutting the park, starting, he's gonna cut it all tomorrow. But after that, it's gonna be every other week, because you don't need to cut it every week. We pay $6.75 a week to cut all that, you know.
Sounds like that was probably a concern from before then, because a lot of it was.
Yeah, I
Fences
mean,
and outside.
we can pull the history on what we've done there in that park this year. It's been tremendous in regards to the financial help in that park.
Yeah.
The improvements that been made. Not just to the pavilion, but to the park in general.
The play areas,
The play area, which has never been addressed, never is a big word, but it's never been addressed, was addressed actually dug out and put new mulch down in all three areas. The pavilions, the toilet's been replaced. If you go over there now, both bathrooms have been repainted. But before that, lights weren't working in the concession stand. The lights weren't working or always on in the bathrooms. Now it's when you go in there, they're automatic. They stay on for a minute, then they go off. But all that's been taken care of. The Little League early on wanted new lights in the back, just for the reason that I addressed in the last 3 weeks in regards to people parking back there. They wanted another light way in the back in that corner. And the lights up by the pavilion to the west did not work. Now, if you go by there at night now, all that works. Been fixed. They wanted a new dry well in the back, additional dry well for parking, because when it rained heavy, there was a flood there in the back. And you couldn't use it for parking. There's a new dry well that was put on. I mean, it's all on the.
yeah, that was.
Tom can-
$6,000.
Tom runs a cash flow, monthly cash flow that I believe that you send to members, but
I sent it to you,
yeah.
but you gave me an email address, I can forward it on to you guys too.
Okay.
But, there's been a lot of improvements made to that park. So I'd like to talk to that person that made that comment.
Yeah, I would imagine it sounds like, they were old concerns that they haven't been back to see if they were fixed yet.
Yeah, there was a girl early on that sent an email about the conditions to the playground, and I agreed with her.
And anyway, and nothing has been done out there for years, I don't think.
Yeah. And those expenses won't occur next year because they're all taken care of.
Yeah.
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 Except for the grass cutting, that's gonna happen all the time.
Well, appreciate all the work that's been put into it, that's for sure.
A
Sounds
lot
like
of,
it's been-
time, a real lot of, meeting with people, getting quotes, getting the best quote, People were
Did I
promised
mention
things in the
about
past.
our camper.
I don't know, you weren't here, Eric, but I had to call the county police last Monday because I got a phone call that we had someone camping in the back Saturday and Sunday night. So I got up early Monday evening, about 6 o'clock. I went out there and there was a camper in the back there. So I called the county police. And they eliminated that issue, but that was the second time I had to do that. And that brings up the discussion while we're on that. I kind of had a discussion early on about the president of Little League, Doug Mathis, called me Monday about a couple of things, minor things. But he also mentioned that he and his board would like to see the park closed during the winter. That gates on there, it used to be an automatic gate. Well, it don't work now. It's all chained up. You can't even move it. He would like to see that. He's mentioned it in years past, but it never got done. Shane has seen people out there at all various times. The guy that cuts the grass, he's in the gentleman across the street who kind of oversees it. He's got my phone number. He calls me if he sees some suspicious things going on. And I got to thinking about that. Why do we need to keep it open? I know Emily has her issue, concern why you should keep it open, but I mean, even with the gate closed, you can still walk around the gates or hop the fence and go to wherever, There's no reason for them to go back there. We got the trash containers out there. They're gonna be gone during the winter, because it's to the point, sometimes it's a community dumpster out there.
Mhm.
So, we're gonna eliminate that for 3 or 4 months and save that money. The Little League's gonna they pay for the Joy Johns. They're gonna have them taken out. So there's really no reason for anybody to be back there.
Just to clarify, I was just mentioning that the playground being open to families during the winter might be appealing.
Yeah, that would be my only concern, but just because it is the winter doesn't mean that's, notice that, this week it's been 70 degrees, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not, the type of weather that somebody could utilize the park. And there's no really other, I mean, unless somebody were to park on the side of the road or something like that, they could walk up and use it, but maybe something to discuss. So that's not something that has to happen in this meeting, right? So,
Bobby, could you clarify the cost that you mentioned associated with keeping it open?
Keeping it open?
Mhm.
There is no cost to keep it open.
well, like, I guess what we
It's,
say,
it's more of a security thing, really.
Okay.
There's no reason for people to go back there during the winter. There's no reason. Pavilion's closed, it's winterized.
Could we get barriers or something to limit the access to
Well-
the parking area where you could allow maybe 10 cars in and?
And
block
Doug
the
has
rest?
mentioned that in the years past, there's been damages to the fence,
Yeah,
so,
And people just drive on the grass if there's no snow.
yeah. I mean,
People want in there, is always gonna find a way. Unfortunately, they're the ones we don't want in the park.
So can you, just so I'm clear, Bobby, it has been closed in
it has
previous
not
years?
been closed. They
He's
are asking
elevating
to
it
close.
Uh-huh, understood. Thank you.
My opinion is, I see no reason not to do it. I mean, there's plenty of things around here besides Warren Park to do during the winter. It's used quite heavily during the spring, summer, and fall. But I'm just relaying the message. I tend to agree with the gentleman that takes care of the park and the president of the Little League.
uh,
They have limited funds also, in their repair.
Yeah. yeah. It's a shame that we couldn't have some way to a separation to where, we can still have utilization of the park equipment, but there's not.
What? Yeah, I
Access
mean,
to the, Little League facilities and things.
there's room to get through the gate in the front and walk around that gate. It's not like it's totally secured. It's got razor wire on it or whatever.
Yeah, something to think about, some options. We don't have to make the decision today or even in a public meeting, I would assume, right? That could just be
The trustee generally maintains the control of the township's property interests. So
Yeah, and I'm just being transparent here. I could just closed it and been done with it.
Yeah.
I just wanted you guys, the board's opinion, but I could just close it myself and be done with it.
Yeah.
Take the
That's
heat
right.
from whoever, which I had no problem in doing because I've been taking it for 56 years.
yeah,
So, I'm used to that.
yeah.
I'm just being transparent, getting your opinions. But I could just close it and be done with it.
So, just trying to see if we had, if that was something that we needed to talk about in this forum or if that would be another discussion. So,
I don't think I've ever been by there in the winter when the people out there playing on it. Unless there's a thaw and the guys are on the basketball court, right, like you said, they don't walk in.
Okay. Well, outside of anything else, there's no other discussion items.
The other discussion that we should have is about, a lot of talk last night. I went to the Leidic Lions meeting last night. Very good organization. Wendy's did a good job. They do a lot. But, you know, I knew this was gonna happen when I went there, you know, and can you take care of this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you get my road paved? Can you get me signs put up here? Can you take care of
The trees and stop.
Can you get, yeah, can you stop the trains, you know? I'm not here. I'm just here to listen to the Lions and join, you know, which I learned a lot from what they do. They do a lot. They really do. And, but there was questions too about the community center, you know. Tom and I have had mail delivered to us that says, Township Trustee / Community Center. I didn't know we had a community center. I've gotten a couple of emails where, you know, it's out there that I'm renting this place. I'm not renting it yet, that I'm aware of, you know. So we need to have a discussion on, you know, where we're gonna go with this community center, because, you know, that was discussed about when Mr. Downey was trustee. I know you got a quote from a company. I've got a quote after that. From an architect came in here and, you know, so we've gotten quotes, but we need to have a discussion on how far we need to go. And if we're gonna do this, we need to start thinking, get serious about it. What the board wants to do and how far you want to go, you know, because it's not just doing the community center. Comes a time, okay, who's gonna run it? Who's gonna manage it?
Yeah.
The rules and regulations, who's gonna open it up, because I'm not.
Probably the Lions Club.
See, I'm not gonna do that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I'm gonna oversee it, you know, I'm definitely gonna oversee it. But we need to come up with guidelines, you know, every other community center, you know, German, others, they have nice set of guidelines, you know. But we need to decide what we're gonna do here, you know.
Has there been any updates as far as with the fire territory and all of that?
The fire territory is moving out. They were offered a proposal. Jump in here. They were offered a proposal, what I thought was a generous proposal, was by square foot and a portion of the utilities. I guess they seemed that they didn't want it as bad as what they said they wanted it. So really tomorrow I'm meeting with a gentleman to list this for rent, and they don't think that it would be that hard to do. To rent the 4 bays.
There will, let's have a discussion on the renting procedure. There's statute, of course, provides for some base level, much in the same way it does for purchases and sales, so that it so we can check those boxes under statute. But it makes sense.
So we're gonna list it, you know, we didn't list the fire station, you know, we didn't go, you know, out in the public and try to get, you know, other people involved in that. We kind of kept it internally here. But I am gonna list this,
The base.
the base, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not like we're getting rid of assets, you know?
Yeah, we've lost enough income, you know, with the intentions of the fire department saying that they wanted it.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess they didn't want it as bad as not, they wanted it, maybe, I don't know, maybe the old deal is gonna lease them there. Bays, I don't know, yeah. I don't think I would, but
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty disappointed that, dragged their feet on that so much.
they did, and, you know, and well, Wendy sits on the board, you know, I brought it up 3 or 4 months ago. There's a serious, you know, Alex drew up a nice proposal. Gave it to him, you know, I had a couple of people come out here to lease properties like this, said, what would you do it for? Lease it for per square foot, and I gave him the low end, you know.
But there's also only so much money on their end, so it may have just been not affordable, so.
How many square foot?
70, around 72, 70, no, 70% of this building is theirs.
Okay, so that part would be 72, 70.
Yeah, somewhere in there, yeah. But what I didn't go that max for them though. You know, I thought I gave them an offer that they would use. But I've also had people, residents tell me, said they build two $5 million fire stations and they can build them big enough to house what they have.
Yeah.
And then that brings me to my other problem that I have, and is that was with the fire territory itself. I'm a little disappointed in the way that budget is handled for that fire territory. I want to go on record stating that. We don't actually take a vote on the fire territory budget because it's overseen by Portage, which I have no problem with that. But in regards to when their budget was presented, and Wendy, jump in here if you want, you don't have to, but I was very adamant that there wasn't very much transparency there. I think as a board and as a trustee, we owe it to the Warren Township residents to see a little bit more transparency with that budget, since we're paying 74 cents on 100.
Yeah.
And there's not enough transparency there for me. I'm not used to seeing budgets like that. I can go get the budget out of my office. It's just one sheet of paper with a bunch of numbers on it. It's not broken down on how they arrive at these numbers. And, you know, to me, that's not the way my last 9 years, or really my last 30 years in public service, I've seen budgets or had to present budgets for the council or commissioners or whoever, or they had to present to us. Not much there. I'm very disappointed. And I don't want to speak for the board, but I know if I'm a board member, I wouldn't be pleased.
Yeah,
And I see you shaking your head, and you probably hear that, you know,
We did.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to see more, especially with I personally have concerns about what the staffing looks like now compared to what it was presented
Yeah,
during the formation meetings, but like a large part of that is with the placement of the ambulance, which was a large concern for the citizens, so that's my biggest reason I haven't had too much of a issue with it, was that there were a lot of the residents that came forward to speak. That was their biggest problem with it, was that there was no ambulance service provided by the township. So now that there is by the territory, kind of made me.
well, at the Commissioner Baxmeyer called a trustee meeting about 3 weeks ago. We could have brought somebody with us, but then a couple of trustees said, well, I'm not inviting my fire chiefs. I'm not bringing anybody. So this should be only for elected officials. So Mr. Baxmeyer sent out an email. The invite only included elected officials. But in that meeting, the ambulance service is going to go away. That contract with the city, Mr. Baxmeyer was pretty adamant that that's costing close to $3 million a year, and that's going to go away.
Can you say that again, Bobby? I'm not entirely following. What ambulance is going away?
The county has a contract with the city of South Bend for provide ambulance service for certain parts of the county. Because there's townships that don't have ambulances. You know, and you have one township that's all volunteer, you know. And this, he was a little shocked when he heard that, but I'm not speaking out of turn here. Mr. Baxmeyer said that he's going to approach the mayor and sit down about the ambulance service because, budget wise, they can't afford it. And the trend is, when I went to trustee conference here 2 weeks ago in Indianapolis, when all 1,000 some people were there, trustees and board members. You can jump in here maybe, but the state legislators are pretty adamant that they want to do away with township government in 2 years.
Yeah, and we've heard that.
We've heard that
Yeah, we've
before.
heard
That goes back to the
Yeah.
Kernan Shepherd report and all that, but the ITA board, executive board kind of was talking to state legislators down there. They gave them a draft, how some, based on the population, how some of that could be merged and, you still have some kind of township governance. They thought they were going to get a hearing. They came back to them and said, no, we don't want to. We're not interested in doing that. Now, could that change? Yes. But the people that do our lobbying, our ITA group, pretty firm that who they're talking to down there saying it's going to go away. How they do it, sure, they give you the, go do it, but in 2 years, and if Daniel was here in 2 years, as Tom knows, in 2 years, we're going to lose our lit money. We will not have lit money coming in. With local option in income tax money, we lose that.
Hopefully the council will put something else in place, but that's.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be up to the county councils to do whatever, or the city council or whatever. Raise your income tax, create a new tax. So it's going to be interesting times in the next couple of years. That's why, this community, we need to get off a dead center in regards to this community center thing, because that's whatever we do, it's going to be costly,
Yeah, I guess that's my bigger concern is, what the bids look like as far as.
Well,
So-
I mean, we hadn't really taken the bids, compared to one that the previous trustee had, and then I had somebody else come in, and I'm not gonna tell you the comments that were made, but you could turn this into a very nice community center for almost half the cost. Now, do we have the money? Yes. But then there always, the question is, it's like we always heard all the time on the council, can you sustain it?
Yeah, that'd be my concern.
And
is
you probably
how
hear
much-
that, you hear that probably, representing the firefighters,
Yeah, it's how much are we.
Yeah, we give you a raise, but we don't know if we can sustain that raise in a year or two,
Wendy, has there been any further conversations about the feasibility or potential planning? I recall at previous meetings, you were going to have some conversations with folks around the community center and what might be feasible.
I haven't gotten anybody together. My thoughts are, since I was kind of in charge of the rentals at the old Leidig, at the Leidig Event Center when the club owned it. As far as a place like this, I don't think I would. I would make the rentals so that they're like a baby shower, a wedding shower, a family birthday party, and the number of people that the building would hold has to be subject to the fire marshal as to how many how much the building will hold. I'm looking more for smaller events. I don't want parties last until midnight. I say 8 o'clock, the best that they can stay, kick them out. It's just gonna be more community based, for 4-H meeting, for us to meet, I don't want, no, I don't want any big party bashes. It's gonna be low key. And they just have, after we write up rules or regulations, this is the way it's gonna be. No parties after 8 o'clock at night. You need to be out of here. You need to at least clean up your trash and carry it out to the trash barrels if we have it. I'm sure we get Lions Club members to tag team with coming in and cleaning up and doing whatever other cleanup needs to be done after an event. But making sure that there's no alcohol, drug use, just a small child's birthday party with no rock and roll bands or karaoke machines or, it's gotta be very low key.
And then the other part of that too, the flip side of that too, is that the food pantry would like to move in here also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they would like to move in here. That little room that's right next door, that little closet area would be perfect for them.
Yeah.
If it's cleaned up and painted and all that kind of stuff, some shelves. They could still do their drive-through around the building and so on. And work that, but I met with Elaine and Karen, 2 weeks ago here. And they damn near held me hostage, but yeah, they're very good people. They do a tremendous job, they're limited on funds, Mr. Downey in the past, always gave, and Tom knows, as Tom knows, towards the end of the year, money that was left over that did not use in poor relief went for most of it, if not all of it. The remaining went towards the food pantry because they're limited on the funds. They rely on Cultivate, just like other food pantries do.
Yeah.
Cultivate, and they get, I think they told me they only get $1,000 from somebody else, and then they run with that and try to do the best they can. They run around all over the place trying to get the best deals,
They do.
and they do a great job. Them two women and whoever else is involved in that do a great job. I think the next one's coming up next Saturday or whenever.
Do you
I
do
told
the
them I'd
last
be in line
Saturday
to
of
get
the
some
month?
food, but I want to see who comes. They get 60 to 70 people
Yeah.
about a month that comes through. Some of the same people, but they get about 60, 70 cars that come through.
Huh.
The only problem I have, if it's a concern, and Emily and I have had a discussion on this, they just give to everybody, which is okay. But there's other food pantries around too, but they just write down your name and address, and they just basically give they don't single out to Warren Township residents, where some townships do. But I mean, hey, we're here to feed, so I guess.
Yeah. Well, and if moving forward, depending on how the budgets look with everything going, we may not be able to throw them the sums that we do. So being able to help them out with.
Well, and there's,
Having a facility.
I'm all for food pantries and so on, and they've been trying to get involved with the Northern Indiana food, because they provide food also, but there's an application that you have to go through. That's a pretty stiff application, my understanding. They've been turned down twice. I was gonna look into that for them.
There are grants available from, Lions Club
Yeah.
International too, and Indiana Lions Foundation. Just write out a grant and, the money's there. That's what all of our dues and things go for. Is to give it away in the community, especially. We could probably get some help with the renovations here. But that would be community based. So anything we do, anything we do for a grant, it's gotta be for the improvement to the community.
The food pantry wouldn't be much expense at all to paint that room and, take up some of the old wires and do the ceiling, and they're off and running, Yeah, that's easy. There's not much money involved in doing that,
Not
It's
even,
just a matter of me saying, do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not even on the community.
Because
center.
whatever we did here wouldn't involve that room anyway,
Yeah.
where they would be.
I'm led to believe that by the people who put these walls in, that if all of us stood against them, they would probably just.
Well, this is one of them.
Yeah.
Just looking at it.
Irregardless of
Yeah.
what, which one would architect drawing, you look at this wall was coming down and opened this whole thing up. This carpet was coming out, new lighting, LED lighting throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wiring, TV up in here so you can show stuff, big screen TV, bathrooms redone so they flush, little thing.
Man, it sounds
No,
like
but
something
But
that.
I mean, the kitchen area that island would have to be adjusted because it don't quite meet ADA. There's some ADA requirements that need to be updated. Windows need to be replaced. Some of the windows, I had probably half a dozen windows replaced already because you just can't see, you couldn't see out. It's so old, But the whole place would be painted and all that kind of stuff. The cabinets and stove and all that stuff would stay and just that
Still in
area.
good shape.
Yeah. So, new flooring, this carpet would come out of here, everything would flow,
One of the reasons I wanted the community center here was to help our 4-H club in Warren Township, because right now they're a non-for-profit. And every time they need to have a general meeting or even a meeting with their board members, they have to rent the Lighting Event Center and they get charged $100. They don't have that kind of money in their coffers, I know for sure. So, to me, with that being in our township, I wouldn't make them rent. I wouldn't make them pay rent to have a meeting here. To me, that's, they are part of the community and it's a good organization, keeps kids out of trouble.
Yep.
But anybody else that rents, I think you would have to show that you're a Warren Township resident. If you're not a Warren Township resident, then you'd be charged more.
And that's what we do with the park. Tom enlightened me of that when I first took over. He says, we try to rent that park only to Warren Township residents. And really, I don't know, how many times do you think we rented that pavilion? 10, can we go 10, 12?
Yeah, probably can.
And it's basically been Warren Township residents. Not that I really look at that, but I've only got stiffed once for somebody not paying, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But as Alex knows, whatever we do, it's not gonna be cheap and we'll have to go out for bids. There'd have to be specifications drawn up, what we went done, public entity, you gotta go out for bids. To do the work.
What that process look like as far as.
That's why,
Partly depends on the scope.
when we make a decision and by the time you advertise and do all that kind of stuff, you're looking into January now, probably.
Easy.
So,
Easy.
Well, I noticed that we're talking about a few different things and would recommend that we offer some distinction in what's been presented, particularly between the food pantry, perhaps an MOU or a rental agreement of some kind, and any kind of renovations necessary for future community space. And I have to say, I'm encouraged by those conversations, Bobby, that you've had with the food pantry, and would be very supportive of continuing to explore. Given some of my background in previous roles, I know there is a very extensive process to become USDA certified as a food pantry, which is required, as I understand, to participate in the Northern Indiana Food Bank Partnership. So I would be curious about any physical space modifications necessary should they relocate to this site for that to be factored into the decision. But I think as a board and as members of this community, we need to be aware that things are going to get bad before they're going to get better. And our current climate and the lack of funding to support families who are most vulnerable right now for basic needs will increase, particularly in the coming months. And so I think it would be wise for us to consider how we can support the access to basic needs for our community members.
You know, when it comes to charging people, that all falls on me, you know, whether I want to charge somebody to use that park or not, or use this facility or not, whatever. It just basically it falls on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say all those things on our end, those are just the conversations.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just trying to be transparent with the board, you know, what I'm looking at and, you know, sure, I could go and make a decision, you know, but, you know, in respect to the board, you know, I want to hear what the board has to say, what they'd like to see done, you know.
A bona fide lease has, my recollection, it's been a while since I've done one, but a bona fide lease with a for-profit party has some notice and board involvement, but a non, you know, something other than a bona fide lease, a license, a use, you know, something that otherwise falls into the category of operation of township property asset falls within the discretion of the trustee.
Yeah, it's
Just
part
for
of
the
the
board's
liability and all that,
edification.
in case, you know, a food pantry member gets hurt or whatever, we're covered for all that stuff, you know, whether it's at the park or here or whatever, we're covered, you know, insurance wise.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to give our opinions on that, knowing that you don't have to, you know, but it sounds like there's a lot of good ideas and things we can do, and I look at it being able to.
So I'll be glad to walk anybody through from,
Just take it a day at a time and a budget at a time. And
But those are your decisions and mine. So,
well, I mean, that's why I don't want to make them alone because, you know, it's easy to say, okay, let's do the community center, but, you know, a lot of other townships have, somebody's secretary sitting in that office doing a lot of this stuff, you know.
yeah, we're not quite what
Yeah, I
some of
mean,
these townships
you know,
are.
German Township, you know, my friends over at German, they have 2 part-time people in there, you know, different days, you know.
Yeah.
And I know, Clay Township has 2 or 3, because I was with them ladies.
Mhm.
You know, I'm pretty sure Harris does, you know. So right now it's just me, you know, I get a lot of help from Mr. Tomzak, but he gives me his opinion that, you know, sometimes I take it, sometimes I don't. He's more or less, where the hell's that receipt at, you know?
it's kind of like a marriage, isn't it?
Yeah, where's the receipt? You know? Which is good, because we have a lot of set eyes watching the books, which, like I said, that's not the case in some of the areas, you know, we should be concerned about that.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you want to be or not, but I am. If we're sitting here being cautious of taxpayers' money, I think this board, you know, not speaking for the board, you know, needs to get a little bit more involved in that fire territory budget. Or the concerns of the fire territory. In our local agreement, I think it does state a lot of that, but we're not getting the information.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of talk about expansion, incorporating. I don't know. We'll see how all that plays out. A lot of discussion, a lot of meetings. We'll see how that plays out in expanding. Not just Portage and Warren trying to expand, but, you know, and Chris and I have had conversations in regards to, you know, what is Center gonna do, what is Liberty doing? You know, Clay's, Doris up there, poorly, she's having a lot of discussions with, Harris and Clay and Penn and, whoever else.
Hmm.
How all this is gonna shake out, because you're gonna have to do something. Madison, like I said, just from what I heard from that gentleman, that trustee, they're all volunteers down there.
Mhm.
And he said, well, I'll just go get ambulance service from Bremen. That's your decision.
Still got paperwork.
Like Bremen, who pays a private company to do their ambulance
See,
service.
so,
So,
paying Tri-County?
yeah,
and in Portage, Jason was pretty adamant that he's heard horror stories, and maybe you have too. Of sometimes a half hour to get to somebody in certain parts of the county. And ambulance, wherever it's coming from.
luckily, there's a lot of those agreements where they just had a fire in the far reaches to where I know the city ambulances were going, but they found mutual aid agreements that the Tri-County ambulances through Bremen.
Yeah.
Go significantly quicker, which
I mean,
the whole reason for those things.
Chief Downey does a great job of giving us a good report on what the fire territory does, or how many calls they make out west, mostly, and in other parts also. He breaks it down if he's got that mutual aid thing, But we're more and more going west.
Well, and if
They're already talking about wanting to buy a second ambulance. And I'm
how they're gonna step.
well, I guess I'm all for that, but I like to see a little more transparency in some other areas before, I mean, it wouldn't cost us anything. But,
Well, I mean, it's and even at that, if the county were to do away with the agreement with the city and not reallocate that, just get rid of it to cut the cost. I mean, there's still other parts of the township, whereas with the county mutual aid agreements, our San Diego County ambulance is gonna be going out to those other places that
Yeah.
the city ambulance is.
that's what I mean. The chief gives us a nice report, 3 or 4 page report. How long it takes to get here and there, and how many calls they take, and what type calls, and all that. I wish his budget was like that, or their budget was like.
Anybody have anything else?
So that's my 2 cents. I'll fight those battles.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
All right, got a motion to adjourn. I'll make the second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
I
All opposed. All right, meeting is adjourned. All right.